Welcome to another episode of Is This for Kids? I am Jonathan Beard of Blevins, and I think that most social media apps and anything that is marketed towards kids these days is just bad.
All right, and I'm Katie, MrsRuvi, and I think you can make social media work for your kids. I think you can make media work for your kids. You just got to get in there. But hey, the point of this podcast is to let parents know what's in the various types of media, what's in the social medias, what the options are, so that they know what they want to shield their kid from. They can make informed decisions about what kind of conversations they need to shepherd their kid through, and also how they can use this media or social media to share in their kids' life. And today we are talking about the most requested thing on our Instagram. We did an episode on Instagram, and I said, what do you guys want? And there were two answers.
TikTok and YouTube.
Snapchat.
Ooh.
Also, I said Snapchat weird on the on the Instagram reel, and people couldn't get over it. If you are living under a rock and you've never heard of TikTok, what is it?
It used to be, like Vine, short videos that people would just watch and then scroll quickly. Now you can actually make very, very long videos and monetize it. But it's content where you can do anything you want on there. So cooking has become huge. Really, every single category of life has become big. But it started out with like singing and dancing and trendy kind of videos. But there's a new trend every single week. Most of your kids, whether they have TikTok or not, are aware of most of them directly or indirectly of whether or not it's from TikTok. Lots of people, adults included, are very addicted.
Yeah, we actually did a recent poll of middle schoolers where I just kind of fed them some lines from various viral TikTok concepts or Instagram. TikTok and Instagram are virtually indistinguishable.
And YouTube Shorts now.
And YouTube Shorts, yeah. Instagram has like still photos that you can still do. The Reels section of Instagram is basically TikTok. So I asked these kids finish this sentence. I'm looking for a man in finance.
Dark 5'9", dark hair, blue eyes, something like that.
With a trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes.
Trust fund.
Yeah.
So I see, but I got it.
Why is Sabrina Carpenter working late?
I don't know that one.
I'm working late because I'm a singer. Anyway, so we polled all of these middle school kids, and even the ones who did, so it was 6th through 8th grade, most of the 6th graders don't have phones and no social media, and still more than 60% of the kids could answer every single one of those questions.
Wow.
Anyway, so even if your kid is not on TikTok, they are probably aware of TikTok trends.
Yes.
They're learning the renegade in the bathroom.
Yep.
I am not a TikTok user. I actually had to download TikTok for this episode, but you are an avid TikTok user. So what do parents need to shield their kids from?
Yeah, I actually, someone leave the politics out of it and everything that's happening right now still with the U.S. Supreme Court, TikTok, all that stuff. Leave all of that out of it. I enjoy the app. As an app itself with content, I enjoy it. I spent a lot of time on it, probably a little too much time during COVID. Limit my usage now because now there's just way more ads than there used to be. And it's kind of hard to distinguish between the For You page and the who you're following. And it's too easy to hit buttons and end up in a shop where you're like trying to buy stuff. So all that to say, I'm very familiar with it. So what we should shield kids from, a lot. A majority of the content on TikTok is bad.
Okay.
Not just bad, but inappropriate for kids. There's a ton of sexual content on there, a ton of suggestive content on there, a ton of language. Obviously, most of the viral inappropriate memes are inappropriate. It is very, very easy to stumble across inappropriate content and then continue to get it. The algorithm is genius. So I'll give a good example. I stumbled upon Slipknot talk. Slipknot I guess they did a reunion tour, I think recently, which is what I saw. This video pops up. Slipknot is a horrifying band to me. I just grew up, I wanted to listen to their music because my buddies did. And I saw a poster on my buddy's wall of them. And I was like, that is the creepiest thing I've ever seen. So I refused to listen to any of their music. I know none of their songs. And I love basically every level of music in the world except for heavy metal or Slipknot's kind of stuff. So all of a sudden this video pops up recently and I'm watching it. And it's 3 minutes long of Slipknot playing a song that was supposed to be huge. And I just couldn't look away at the guy's mask. It was horrifying. So I'm looking at it. I watched the whole video.
All Slipknot.
I skip. There's a cooking video, skip. Fantasy football video, skip. Slipknot again. Skip immediately. Another Slipknot. It's unbelievable how quick. So and by the way, if you reset, this is a suggestion I have, you can reset the algorithm and then type in the things you like and then start the algorithm over, which I recommend often. And I'll talk more about that later. But I had to reset it to get rid of the Slipknot video showing up. And then so it's so crazy how the algorithm works. And I think it's important to make sure you're shielding your kid from that. Shield from the messages. Unless you set your account to super, super private, easy to not do that. You can be talking to anyone that has their messages open, which can be not a good thing.
Yeah. So a lot like what we talked about on Instagram, the algorithm is based on what you pause on, right? So if you take a few extra seconds to watch Slipknot, you're going to get served more Slipknot. If you take a little bit of time to watch, for some of the examples of things that I've seen in the limited time that I've had it downloaded, there are things that promote anorexia. There are things that promote family discord, for lack of a better word. So when you're talking about resetting the algorithm, I kind of did that because I set up a new TikTok account for this. When you set it up, they say you have to pick at least 3 interests, like tell it 3 things that you are interested in. It has a little list, right? So I set up my account for the first time. I told it I'm a 39-year-old woman, so it knows I'm not a child. I probably should have made it a child just to see what it would do, but for funsies, I made myself an adult so I could see all of the features. I told it I was interested in food, sports, and animals because on Instagram, I really love watching snakes hatch out of eggs. Having a great time with that on Instagram.
I've been on Snake Talk.
I love snakes and the bees. Anyway, so I set this up. Those are the 3 entrants I gave it: food, sports, animals. And my first 20 TikToks I counted. Like I sat there and I made sure I didn't stay for more than 3 seconds on anything. I was like, I'm aware of how algorithms work and I didn't want to give you any information that wasn't good. So I made sure I was 1, 2, 3, flick, and then 1, 2, 3, flick. And I would tell my kid what it was and they wrote it down for me. Within the first 20 TikToks, I had 2 motivational speeches from people talking about how you have to cut members out of your family if they don't support you.
Okay.
For various things. They were just, I mean, like this was all
not very demure.
Not demure, not mindful. They were just like, if the people in your life can't support what you're doing, then they don't serve you anymore and you need to get rid of them. And I was like, ooh, toxic, gross. But I got 2 of those served to me within those first 20 videos. I got 2 Kamala Harris official account TikToks, one featuring Lance Bass telling me that they were going to say bye to Donald Trump this summer, or this, when are we voting? November. Anyway. And I don't remember what the second one was, but it was just like a basic Kamala Harris, are you on TikTok? Yes, I am kind of thing. There was also a Donald Trump support reel from an account called Red Pill something, a little unhinged. Seemed to be pro Donald Trump, so at least that was balanced, I suppose, but it was a little unhinged. And then the rest of them were goats and sheep and various animals getting stuck in fences. Yep. So that was my first 20 TikToks. So I was a little concerned that like it felt like they were serving me more politics than was reasonable. I'm not a politics person. I don't have a strong political leaning one way or the other. So it was kind of odd to me to get 3 out of 20 of my first reels were blatantly political. Yep. I thought that was odd.
That is odd.
Yeah. Basic information for parents who are not familiar with TikTok. If your kid starts an account and they are under 18, if you appear to be under 18, the account defaults to private. That can be overridden immediately, but it defaults to private. Under 16, do not have access to direct messages. Again, that's based on date of birth. So until your kid's date of birth turns to over 16, there will be no DMs available to them. TikTok attempts to curate content based on a kid's age, but again, there's no verification. So if your kid says they're 21, they're going to get alcohol stuff. They have a concept now that they're really trying to push out there called family pairing. So you're going to see a lot of TikTok ads, especially during football right now, where it's like you can log into that you see like a mom and a daughter sitting on a couch working on let's block the following terms on your TikTok so that your kid doesn't see these things. And these are great. However, family pairing has to be initiated by the child account and approved on the parent account, and it can be turned off at any time from the child account.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird feature.
It is a strange setup. Those are the shield things that I would want to put out there. I mean, all of the things that we talked about on Instagram, anything that's awful in the world can be found on TikTok. Pro-anorexia content, all of the terrible things that exist in the world, that exists on TikTok.
Yep.
Those are the things that TikToks have put in place to try to help with that.
Yep.
There you go.
And one other thing just we didn't mention yet is live, like TikTok live. You can go live on TikTok. Mm-hmm. If there's a camera and the internet, you can stream it. So TikTok is very, very slow at their banning.
I've been banned.
I was going to say I've been banned. So it's like quick sometimes. Like I got banned for like saying, I'm going to have a beer tonight. And they like banned me. But then I've like stumbled upon like people giving gambling advice. And like I've been banned for saying I'm betting on the game tonight. So it's very weird because like entire accounts based on things that are not getting banned. And then I mention one thing and I get banned. But you can stumble upon anything before it gets banned.
Yeah.
And so just be careful and mindful of that.
I think a lot of our parents out there, in that same survey that we did with middle schoolers, one of the questions that we asked was, I can't tell my parents about blank or they'll take my phone away. The number 2 answer was that I have TikTok. Your kid might have TikTok that you don't know about for right now. If your kid has TikTok, how can you shepherd them through this? What are some things that parents can do to mitigate the damage that could be there?
I don't like lying to your kid. So I'm not suggesting you lie to your kid, but I do think that open communication is really important. So because what I was going to say is, and this is actually something that I think is kind of, it's the reason people are addicted to TikTok. So I get why they do it.
OMG, who cares? Oh, women. I can't imagine how horrible your lives are. Get a hobby. Get a life. You're a white woman. You have no say.
I'm a grown woman. These comments on Instagram do not bother me, but your kids shouldn't have to deal with this. That's where Bark comes in. Silence that noise. Bark can help you to cut off the apps, the scary language, and it'll let you know if any bullying like this is happening to your kid online. Get the Bark phone or the Bark app. You'll like it.
The For You page, which now is also on Twitter and on Instagram. It's everywhere. When I was growing up, you had Facebook, right? And like Instagram, you only saw the people you followed. And now you almost never see the people you follow. Like on TikTok, there's a whole section of here's who I'm following. And then there's a creator marketplace in the middle. And on the right, there's a For You page. And the For You page is more fun. Unless you go follow like 1,000 accounts, which like I don't have time to do. I don't want to see the same video from the same 3 people. And so the For You page is like, it's new content and it's fun. And so you're scrolling that. As a parent, I think you can have an open conversation with your kid and say, listen, if you're going to be on TikTok, here's a ground rule. I can come check your For You page. And I'm not talking like helicopter thing, like every day I'm going to pull up their phone. I'm going to monitor it. I have the authority to do that whenever. And just that little threat of that might being a thing. So I'm not saying lie to them and just never check it. Like maybe check it once a week or a month. I don't know.
No, check it.
Check it.
Actually check it.
Go look and the threat will hopefully help, but then also just doing it and having a conversation about it. And then having that open communication, I think is really important, but you can learn a heck of a lot more of what your kid is consuming content wise from their For You page than you can from who they're following. Another solution is just to really encourage them to like follow as many accounts as they want and like you can approve them, and then try not to let them go to the For You page and just check out all the accounts that they do follow and the content that they do want to see that you deem as appropriate.
I think what you're saying is true. I would just maybe pull it out a little bit more that communication is the key to all of this. If you have a good relationship with your kid, it's a lot easier to talk rationally about social media of any kind. So if you've communicated clearly with your kid that there is danger on social media, that there's the depression and anxiety rates are insane and often attributed to social media, I want you to be able to communicate with your friends, because don't kid yourself. This is where your kids' social interaction happens. And it sucks a little bit because we want them to have those embodied, in-person, real-life, face-to-face, synchronous encounters, preferably out of doors. A lot of kids who are not given access to social media apps feel isolated from their peers. And so it's this very dangerous tightrope that we're walking. But if you have a good relationship with your kid and you've built that understanding that at any moment I can look at your For You page, and this is not because I don't trust you, it's because I don't trust the algorithm.
100%.
And so I want to see what it is that it's serving you. And if you're seeing that your kid is getting this, pro-anorexia content or political messaging that you don't agree with, you don't get mad at your kid. You don't necessarily punish them, but you have some good conversations about what it is that they're seeing. Hey, I'm concerned by how many anorexia accounts I'm looking at here. Should we talk to somebody? It'll give you an idea of what to look at, but the communication is key. We have a friend who always says it's called communication, baby. And that's what I was thinking with this entire thing, is always be in communication.
Yeah, I don't want to be like doom and gloom, but it is kind of doom and gloomy right now with social media in the world. And this is coming from someone who's like, my entire job is to be on social media. So I don't spend as much time scrolling as I used to, because when I'm done working throughout the day, I just kind of want to not have a screen in front of me. But I get how it works. Like, it's like the world right now is being formed by algorithms. Think of some of your close friends who spend too much time on social media. You can tell like they all have the same beliefs. It's just wild how quickly it becomes a rabbit hole, and you just start getting fed this information. You start thinking the whole world either agrees with you or is demonized, and it can just become a really dark, scary place. And so it's another reason to just make sure you check it. I'll give an example. Like, a lot of the lifestyle changes I've made over the last year have come from TikTok.
When you're trying to share in this with your kid, I have sort of a sneaky little life hack.
My answer to this is gonna surprise you, actually.
Really? With the share?
You go ahead.
Okay. If your kid is on social media, the number one advice that I would give you is that your kid should never be on a social media app that you are not personally on. If you don't have this app and you don't know how it works, you should not be okaying it for your kid. That said, don't say no to everything. Just get on TikTok. And the way that you do that, you set up your account and then you ask your kid to help you. Like, what is this? Tell me how this works. Tell me what this is. And sit there, play dumb. If you know, play dumb.
Yeah.
And let your kid tell you, this is what this does. This is what this does. Because you're more likely to understand how your kid uses TikTok if your kid explains TikTok to you.
Yep.
And so then you can understand what it is that they're looking. And most kids are not, they don't have the guile necessary to lie to you while you're earnestly asking them to set it up. You tell them, hey, Jimmy, you can have TikTok when you're 16. Help me set up my account and then we'll set up yours. Your kid will just be so excited that you're allowing them to be on that they're going to be honest and reasonable with you.
Yep.
And not only that, but like if by that point you should have built up this trusting relationship where you can talk to your kid about things. And this playing dumb, I don't think is lying. It's just encouraging your kid to show you how they view it instead of forcing your version on them. There you go. That's my how you share in TikTok.
I've got two. Okay. First is, so my kids, as you know, they don't watch a lot of TV. They get like 30 minutes a day at max, sometimes more on football games and stuff of media time a day. And it's usually Wildcrats or Bluey or a sporting event. But like often they're asking, can we watch a show? Can we do this? And it's like, well, they don't like, okay, we've gone outside for most of the day. Like, I don't really want you to sit in front of the TV. I kind of want to spend time with you. So with the boys, I'll watch like 3 or 4 fantasy football or sports TikToks. Nice. And with Kiara, she like has this love of cooking videos on TikTok. And so we watch these like, I'm like, what food do you want to learn how to make? And she'll be like, cake. And we'll click cake. And like, I have to make sure that sometimes there's just like hilarious TikTok content out there.
Don't search cake on TikTok with your 3-year-old.
Cook recipe. Well, she's not watching me search, but you know what I mean?
I know.
Gotta be careful there.
Parents, I'm telling you.
Chocolate cake recipe. And like, you have to make sure that the content creator isn't one of those like people out there who are just, their content is for adults. And so they're cursing every other word in their cake recipe. And that's how they went viral. And they've got aprons that they sell that are like F cake. And it's like, okay.
That is weird.
It's weird, but like, it's a thing. Gotta be careful. But like, there's a couple of chefs who I love following on TikTok. And I'm like, oh, they have a mac and cheese one? Great. And we'll watch it. And my daughter loves it. And she has an interest in then cooking. And I was taking a little cooking class. So I would say that. Now, the other thing, this is something that is for me is a little cringy. So I will not be doing this with my kids, but I have some friends who do this with their kids and they're viral and they have this cool little like family community that's happening on TikTok where they like share in making TikToks with their kids. And for some reason their kids think it's cool and the parents aren't trying to be weird. It's very much like family talk. It's a thing. They do dances together and stuff and people think it's wholesome. One way you can share in that if you want, or I've seen parents play video games with their kids and have TikToks, like that's just something to think about.
Yeah, I would maybe only do that if your kids are 16. I wouldn't put kids on TikTok.
Same. I don't put mine on there.
Little kids. But yeah, I think those are all great things. And a lot of the advice that we gave on our Instagram episode actually applies to TikTok as well because they have a lot of similar things. So if you haven't seen that episode, go back and look at our Instagram episode. Hey, if they wanted more content like this, where would they find it?
Isthisforkids.com has every single place that you can find us, especially YouTube and Instagram.
That's right. There's just so much content out there and media and social media for us to wade through as parents.
I'm Jonathan Beard of Blevins.
I'm Katie, MrsRuvi. Let us help you decide.
Is this for kids?